Ireland's woodlands are largely dominated by coniferous plantations which feature very little in the way of native old woodland. But in this episode, I managed to explore a small patch of native woodland in my local area that has some fantastic looking oak trees, which I do hope to revisit again in some more ideal conditions. And I think the benefit of scouting locations in advance cannot be understated, because not only do you plan, but you get an idea of various compositions that you can make a mental note of and return to in the future during better conditions. I want to talk to you about Ireland's woodland. What we have in Ireland is a monoculture coniferous woodland, man-made, that's been planted for industry, obviously, which is necessary. But the problem with a coniferous woodland is nothing grows. Nothing grows, not even on the bed of the forest. It really is. It's tough to see. It's also not nice to photograph. And I thought that in my area, majority, there's a park nearby where you'll have some native trees, but for majority of the time the mountains are just covered in these spruce trees. But I was on a hike yesterday and I took this random path that I'd never taken before. I actually didn't really know where I was, but I heard the sound of the flowing water, the river or the stream. So I followed the sound of that and I stumbled upon this valley, this gorge, and it's surrounded in these native trees, and they're all oaks, they're beeches. There's a couple of ash, there's spruce here, or not spruce, there's birch. So I just kept scouting. I scouted. Sorry, I'm sitting in a very precarious position, and I was amazed at some of the trees I found. Really beautiful oaks. And I said I'm going to come back here in the morning with my camera. Now, it was a bittersweet find, because when I got my bearings I knew the area I was in, and due to its elevation I'd say it's a 1 in a million chance that I'll ever get any sort of fog in this part of the woodland. What I could get is some low cloud, possibly some mist, but for example this morning is an incredibly foggy, misty morning, and it's totally clear inside in this woodland, and I kind of knew that was going to be the case. So it's still good conditions to photograph it in, because mist is helping to diffuse that light, and it's just nice to be out again with the camera. But I urge you to try and find these little gems, because it's just fantastic to see. And even the forest floor is littered with leaves, so I think in autumn this could be an absolutely stunning place. I do have a river flowing down through it which I could go down and explore, but for now I'm just kind of having a look at a couple of compositions. There is one scene which I'm going to show you now, and I'm going to photograph, which caught my eye yesterday for a variety of reasons, and I think it's a real nice woodland image. Why does Ireland not have any native woodland left, or very little? I think 2% of Ireland is native woodland now, and altogether only 11% of it is covered in woodland, whereas one time it was 80%. There's a variety of reasons. The farming back in the 1600s would have cut down trees to reclaim land. Then you had the Normans, you had Cromwell, you had the British invasion, who used a lot of the Irish trees for their own timber and their own industry. So that's where we lost an awful lot of our native trees. And Thankfully there's schemes going on that are replanting trees. I won't see them in my lifetime. I mean, a typical oak tree would take 100 years to maturity, maybe more. But I'd hope that for future generations they'd be able to walk through woodlands covered in oaks, covered in beeches, ash, alder, and yeah, it would really be a magical place. So this particular scene that I'm shooting here at the moment, it's a fantastic woodland image. It has all the key ingredients for a nice, clean composition that, in hopefully the right conditions, will make a really nice image. It's a nice shot as it is. I've got these two prominent trees in my foreground, and the way they're just arcing up in this S-curve shape, especially the one on the right hand side, and they're framing a large oak right down by the riverbank, and it's a really nice scene, really nice scene. The minute I saw it yesterday, it caught my eye straight away, and I took a photo of it on my phone, and I knew, I made a mental note of it just to come back. It's a really nice scene. I'm going to take a test shot here. I'm at a sixth of a second, f13, ISO 125, and yeah, very nice, focusing on the front tree, making sure the whole scene's in focus, zooming in, making sure it's tack sharp, and it's fantastic to be finally in a bit of native woodland here in Ireland. After taking a closer look at this composition, I do feel your eye gets drawn out of the frame a bit either side by the two trees, but I just love the framing of the oak in the centre, and I think with a bit of fog it does have potential. The challenge is ever present though, native woodland or not. It's about trying to break down that clutter, isn't it? I think that's why we all love the fog and the mist so much, because it takes away all the distractions of the background and it just leaves you with your subject. Whereas when you don't have that, you really have to tune the eye in to try and take away those unnecessary distractions as best you can. It's mad because I literally just, like, above me here, if I peer over that ditch, it's like an incredibly foggy scene, and down here then it's just crystal clear. It's mad. As I said, I think this area will never get it. It's just something about, I don't know what it is. It must be due to the elevation, possibly some mist or low clouds someday. But for now I'm going to go back to a tree that is near the entrance you would have seen at the start of the vlog, and I'm going to try and shoot that, frame it up in some way that try and have it on its own, basically. So yeah, fantastic though, what a place, my god. And this was on my doorstep, like this is 10 minutes from my house, and I never knew it. And I suppose that is the benefit of having it so close, is that if I do think the condition right, I can just fly up, have a look. If they're not there, well then at least I tried, you know. I just know there's a photograph here. It's just, so there's an awful slope, and because of that slope I'm lower than these trees, and I can't help but get the sky in the shot. And sometimes that's okay if it's kind of a light blue sky where you can just desaturate and it doesn't distract too much, but this is like a sheet of white, as you can see, and it's just distracting. And I'm trying to frame one tree that still has some remnants of its leaves on it, so it's these vibrant light oranges that are just popping against the green moss that's on the other two trees. And I know there's a shot here, It's just literally about taking the time to frame it and see what works. Again, trying to remove the clutter and remove the distractions. And there's also a tiny bit of mist flowing into the background. The wind is starting to pick up now, so it's obviously blowing it down. But it's not worth talking about really. I mean, I don't know how I could not have photographed this tree today, regardless of the conditions. It's a fantastic looking tree with branches just outreaching every direction, which actually helps to frame the scene nicely. Now I have the tripod fully extended. You would have seen me there obviously first just shooting handheld, getting a feel for the height I needed, getting a feel for the angle, and then when I'm happy with that I set up my tripod and I take the shot. And I'm framing it so that I get a nice bend in the trunk to the left hand side of the frame, and I'm using these branches here then to try and balance it as best I can out to the right. Now I talk like I know what I'm doing in terms of balancing images. Now I think I take a lot of very unbalanced images. I try not to think too much of the nitty gritty like that. I just kind of see a nice scene and take the photo, you know. So settings wise, I popped the polarizer on as well, just to try and make those greens pop a bit more and make it a bit more vibrant. I'm shooting at half a second, ISO 100 f8. I'm not too worried about having the back of the scene in focus because there's a bit of distraction there. There's the faintest bit of mist, I call it nearly a haze if anything, in the background, which is just helping to isolate it a small bit more. And this is a tree that I will be revisiting many a time to come. A tree like this is a rare find in the Irish woodland, and I'm sure this is how Simon Baxter felt when he found that iconic tree after so long scouting, and it's definitely one that I look forward to shooting again in the future. And one key way you know that you are in a deciduous woodland is just have a look at the ground, have a look at the leaves. I mean, that's the leaf of an oak. It's quite distinctive, quite a kind of a peculiar shape, and you just know about it. So like the floor here is littered in particularly oak and beech, so I'm thinking they're the predominant trees. Could be wrong, but I'm thinking they're the predominant trees in this woodland, you know. I think there is a case of photographers where you do always rely on fog, and don't get me wrong, I'm hoping to get out soon into the woodland in the fog. It's fantastic conditions to shoot in, but we tend to rely a bit much on it, and I think because a lot of the woodland images we see online are really foggy, misty scenes, that's what we're looking for. But there is still really nice images to be had in a woodland without those conditions. You just have to look for the shapes, the textures in the trees, start to think outside the box a bit, and that's what I'm really trying to do this morning. All morning I've been looking at this walkway that's behind me, that's going up through the woodland, and probably the old me would have gone straight up to it, used a wide angle, used the railing to lead you through the image, but now I'm much more comfortable shooting longer focal lengths. And when I was up there, it was a perfect view, as in camera wise. I could see the railing going up long, there was a bit of mist in the background, but I just couldn't get a clear angle to take it from. There was too many branches. Now I've come down here lower and I do have a clear line of sight at 200 millimeters, The only issue is I can't get a tripod in where I'm standing. So in order to get a sharp shot, I'm shooting at ISO 4000 f5.6 200mm. It's clean. I mean, I looked at the image, I zoomed in, it's clean. It's one of the benefits of shooting full frame, I suppose, in this situation. I just can't get a tripod in there. So yeah, I don't know why I like the shot. It's just, it looks nice. It's got a real old style kind of, I don't know, vintage feel to it. It's like this broken down pathway through the woods. Tiny bit of mist in the background just to soften the light. And one key thing I like is this, there's a branch just overarching the top of the walkway, and I think many people might see that as a distraction. I see it as adding something to the composition. I hope it works out. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. No idea what the images are going to turn out like. Just, it's a very exciting thing for a landscape photographer, even if you don't shoot the woodland, to find old native woodland here in Ireland, where we have predominantly coniferous woodland. So if you're watching this from outside of Ireland, you're wondering why I'm making such a fuss. These are rare enough finds in Ireland, and also I haven't seen anyone all morning, didn't see anyone all day yesterday, so it looks like I found myself my own little woodland paradise, so that's very exciting. I'm going to come back on a day where there's a bit of, it's going to be a sunny enough day, I think, but just as the light is starting to dip, maybe 2-3 in the afternoon, because there are one or two compositions I've seen that might lend themselves nice to a bit of dapple light coming in through the trees. And I will be coming back again, hopefully, if it's a very damp, drizzly day with lots of low cloud and mist. Even after a day of rain, I think it would lend itself very well to these trees. They'd be glistening and just be very vibrant shots. So yeah, it pays to scout. I went on a 12-kilometer hike yesterday, no camera gear, just my phone, and yeah, I found this place. So you never know. All within my 5 kilometres, we're still in lockdown here in Ireland, and it doesn't look like we're going anywhere anytime soon. So to have found this is very exciting. I'm going to let you go. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Stay safe. All the best.